Tom was a dunce at school, and was whipped and shaken more than I care to say, but without avail, for where one man can lead a horse to the pail, 20 can't make him drink what is not to his mind, and books and sums were poison to Thomas. He was stone blind to the printer's magic. Yet his grass-green eye missed neither swoop nor swerve of the hawk's wing past the high window. And the breeze could bring above the babble of the room's uproar songs to his ear from the sun-dusted moor, the grey curlew's whistle and the shrill, far cry of circling buzzard. This was Tom at school, subject to nothing but the sky and the wind's rule. And then at 14, term ended, and the lad was free. Scatheless as when he entered, he could write and spell no more than the clouds could, or the dribbling rain that scrawled vague messages on the window pane. And so he returned to the Bulch to help his father with the rough work of the farm, to ditch and gather the slick ewes from the hill, to milk the cow and coax the mare that dragged the discordant plough. Stepping with one stride thus from boy to man, his school books finished with, he now began learning what none could teach but the hill people in that cold country, where grass and tree are a green heritage more rich and rare than a queen's emerald or an untouched maid. It were as well to bring the tup to the wild mare, or put the heron and the hen to couple, as mate a stranger from the fat plain with that gaunt wilderness, where snow is laid deadly as leprosy till the 1st of May, and a man counts himself lucky if All Saints' Day finds his oats hived in the tottering barn. But Thomas took to the life like a hillman born. His work was play after the dull school, and hands shamed by the pen's awkwardness, toyed with a fleece of yew and weather. Eyes found a new peace, tracing the poems which the rooks wrote in the sky. So his shadow lengthened, and the years sped by with the wind's quickness. Tom had turned 19 when his father sickened and at the week's end died, leaving him heir to the lean patch of land pinned to the hilltop and the cloudy acres kept as a sheep walk. At his mother's side, he stood in the graveyard, where the undertaker sprinkled earth rubble with a loud tattoo on the cheap coffin. But his heart was hurt by the gash in the ground, and too few were the tears that he dropped for that lonely man beginning his journey to annihilation. He had seen sheep rotting in the wind and sun, and a hawk floating in a bubbling pool, its weedy entrails mocking the breast laced with bright water. But the dead and living moved hand in hand on the mountain crest in the calm circle of taking and giving. A wide sepulchre of brisk blue air was the beast's portion, but a mortal's lot, the bored strictness, and an ugly scar on the earth's surface, till the deliberate sod sealed off forever the green land he trod. But the swift grass that covered the unsightly wound in the prim churchyard healed Thomas' mind of its grave sickness, and December shadows dwindled to nothingness in the spring meadows that were blousy with orchis and the loose bog cotton. Then the sun strengthened, and the hush of June settled like lichen on the thick timbered house, where Tum and his mother ate face to face at the bare table, and each tick of the clock was a nail knocked in the lid of the coffin of that pale, spent woman who sat with death jogging her elbow through the hot, still days of July and August, or passed like a ghost by the scurrying poultry. It was ever her boast not to stay one winter with a good man cold in his callous bed. Tum was bumpkin blind to the vain hysteria of a woman's mind, and prated of sheep fairs. But the first frost came to prove how ungarnished was the truth she told. Can you picture Thomas now in the house alone, the room silent and the last mourner gone down the hill pathway? Did he sit by the flame of his turf fire and watch till dawn the slow crumbling of the world he had known? Did he rebuild out of the ragged embers a new life tempered to the sting of sorrow? Tum went to bed and woke on the grey morrow to the usual jobbery in sty and stable, cleaned out the cowhouse, harnessed the mare, and went prospecting with a keen ploughshare. Yet sometimes the day was dark, and the clouds remembered, herded in the bare lanes of the sky, the funeral rite, and Thomas about the house or set at table was aware of something for which he had no name. Though the one tree, which dripped through the winter night with a clock's constancy, tried hard to tell the insensitive mind what the heart knew well. But March squalls, making the windows rattle, blew great gaps in his thoughts, till April followed with a new sweetness that set the streams gossiping. On Easter Day, he heard the first warbler sing in the quick ash by the door, and the snow made room on the sharp turf for the first fumbling lamb. Docking and grading now until after dark in the green field or fold, there was too much work for the mind to wander, though the robin wove in the young hazel a sweet tale of love. And what is love to an uncultured youth in the desolate pastures but the itch of cattle at set times and seasons? Tum rarely went down with his gay neighbors to the petticoat town in a crook of the valley, and his mind was free of the dream pictures which lead to romance. Hearts and arrows scribbled at the lane's entrance were a meaningless symbol, as esoteric as his school fractions. The one language he knew was the shrill scream in the dark, the shadow within the shadow, the glimmer of flesh, deadly as mistletoe. Of course, there was talk in the parish. Girls stood at their doors in November evenings, their glances busy as moths round that far window, and some, whom passion made bolder as the buds opened, lagged in the bottom meadow and coughed and called. But never a voice replied from that grim house, nailed to the mountainside.
For Thomas was up with the lambs, or stealthily hoarding the last light from the sky in his soul's crannies. So the tongue still wagged, and Thomas became a story to please a neighbor with, or raise the laughter in the Lew Tavern. For folk cannot abide the inscrutable riddle posed by their own kin. And you, hypocrite reader, at ease in your chair, do not mock their conduct, for are you not also weary of this odd tale, preferring the usual climax? He was not well favored, you think, nor gay, nor rich, but surely it happened that one of those subtle bitches with the sly haunches angled him into her net at the male season. Or, what is perhaps more romantic, some lily-white maid, a clerk or a minister's daughter, with delicate hands and eyes brittle as flowers or curved sea shells, taught him the tender airs of a true gallant. No, no. You must face the fact of his long life alone in that crumbling house with the winds rending the joints and the grey rain's claws sharp in the thatch. Of his work up on the moors with the moon for candle and the shrill rabble of stars crowding his shoulders. For Tomb was true to his fate, that wound solitary as a brook through the crimson heather, trodden only by sheep, where youth and age met in the circle of a buzzard's flight round the blue axle of heaven. And a fortnight gone was the shy soul from the festering flesh and bone when they found him there, entombed in the lucid weather.